two things here. Number one, I found David Paget, who's been, by the way,
Super nice guy.
great guy, and he played his ass off back in his playing days. He played
He's a
hard,
good player.
good player. And David is tall. I mean, I am small, but sitting next to him here doing these TBT games over here in Louisville. So I said to David, "Where do I go around here for dinner?" He sent me to Volare or Volare, depending on how you
Yeah.
want to pronounce it. Terrific, terrific Italian restaurant. Perhaps the best part about the restaurant is you just go near the bar, and you're guaranteed to run into a Louisville fan. And I have heard countless more Rick Pitino, Kevin Willard, Mick Cronin, old school Ville stories that I can't even believe. I can't tell on the show that have been just so good. But my biggest takeaway, fellas, and this is a fun thing because you're going now to the Bahamas. I really believe that Louisville and Kentucky, there is so much hunger for these two schools to get going that when you combine the energy of the coaches, so Pat Kelsey's got this area energized as all get out. Mark Pope is Kentucky because he played there and he gets it, right? Part of the untouchables. You know how we talk in sports, Rob, about how the rise is the most fun part? Like you're a Phillies fan. So the Phillies are now supposed to be great. But the best part is when they're, yeah, and they are. But the best part is when they're on the rise. I think we'll see it in our numbers. We normally do because the interest is there. I think we're in for really fun upcoming years between Louisville and Kentucky again, because there's something to be said about newness and hope. And it feels like here, especially here in Louisville right now, and I think they got it right with Pat and the roster they built. Like the rise is the best part. And the rise is about to begin here in Louisville. They're so starved. They're packing Freedom Hall with 8,000 just to watch their alumni. If that's what they're doing now, imagine, the current team got introduced the other night, complete standing ovation. The rise is the best part. We're about to watch the rise begin for these programs.
It's going to be fun, man. And guys, without seeing them in person, we're going to see them next week. Like that roster he's put together. Plus, Pat can coach. We all know that. Fanta and I had him in person a couple times. Rob, you guys did some things at the beginning of last year, the Field of 68 season opener or whatever we called it. Like dude can coach. The dude can coach, and he's put together a roster that's going to be, I think, is a tournament team. And you want to talk about a Louisville fan base, one that's massive, and second that absolutely they're already jumping on board. And Pat could have handled it better when it comes to like being the third choice and the third option, and then he goes out there and just crushes the portal. I mean, it's good. It's going to be fun times in Louisville. I'm really excited to see. And keep in mind, and we're going to revisit this argument again, I'm sure, the metrics are going to like the ACC better this year. Yeah, they are not going to be as far off anymore. You guys wait and watch, because the bottom is now coming up. And when the bottom comes up in a league, life's going to be good, and it's going to be looked at as a much better league. You wait and watch.
Yeah. So just on your point, Fan, about the rise is the best part. Like I think what fans will see, one is a level of entertaining basketball and kind of an up and down style that is going to make you want to keep tuning in. Like I don't know if they're guaranteed to be like a top 10 team this year. I think that they're trending in the right direction. I think that there are, it's not a perfectly constructed.
If Louisville messes around and they get ranked a couple of weeks in the top 25 this year, guys, like we're and also right now, you should be thrilled. They make the tournament. They should be head over heels.
And you're heading into a season where the expectation is like, give me something that I want to root for again, right? Like, and I don't want to make this sound like Louisville basketball needs to be something where it is just kind of moral victories and like, if we're close, if we're at least competing, that's fun. No. What I'm saying is that you have a roster that should probably be a tournament team, and most likely will be in and around the back end of the top 25 for most of the year, right? I don't think that they're good enough to knock off Duke in the ACC. I think that they have enough on this roster that you can tell the story, make an argument. They can be as good as anybody outside of Duke in the ACC. Louisville could finish second in the ACC. Louisville could finish probably seventh in the ACC. There's the gap there isn't really all that big. But my point is that you have something here where you can dream. Like you can watch this team play and say, I just saw that this team could beat Duke in the Yum Center, right? Oh, I just saw them do this. This team can make it to a Sweet 16. Like there's a level of being able to get behind something that you enjoy, that you love watching, and that you look forward to every week. Fan, and we talk about, you mentioned the numbers that we would see on the pod, right? The places where we always get the most traffic and the most views are the ones where the fan base is at a point where they are just addicted to the idea of watching them play and watching them get better. We saw it for a while with Purdue. We saw it for a while with Texas Tech and kind of the numbers that we did, right? We're seeing it right now with Illinois. And I think with Louisville fans this year, it is the fact that they just had 2 awful seasons. And now you're stepping into a year where it's like, 1, this team's going to be fun. 2, they got a chance to be pretty good. And 3, this coach has gotten us like fired up about what is going to happen. Yeah. I can't wait to see what it is. I can't wait to see how they put it together. And let me ask you this. So the one stat that stands out to me, T.O., is our friend Evan Miyakawa put this together. He runs evanmia.com, analytics site as good as you're going to find anywhere out there. There hasn't been a team in the last 3 years since the portal really took off that returned fewer than 15% of their minutes at the high major level and found a way to get to the NCAA tournament. Utah State is the only one that did it. Utah State is a Mountain West Conference school, very good school, not one of the now Power 5 programs in college conferences in college basketball. Louisville, Kentucky, Arkansas, Memphis. There's a whole bunch of really big name schools and big name brands that are retooling their rosters like this. Like, what are you expecting to see from these groups, and how hard do you think it's going to be to kind of put everyone together? And what is the value of going on a trip like this in the middle of July?
Fanny, you want to take it? We're going to me.
I went to you first, Tio, but whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah. No. Hey, look, there's a couple of things. Is you might not have roster continuity, but you have player coach continuity. He brought some guys over. I think that's another huge point of this whole thing. James Scott comes over. He's listed at 6'11". That dude's every bit of 7 foot. I don't care what he's listed at. Like, he was a CAA all rookie team guy. He's a big time shot blocker, good enough athlete to play in the ACC. We've all known that. He brought Rain Smith with him, who's going to be a settling force. Kobe Rogers, who's going to be sitting out this year. But at the same time, you have that influence and you have that guy that guys can look to. Like, this is how we do things. This is how we do things. So there's plenty of talent, guys. I mean, you look up and down that roster, they're there. And there's enough size. There's enough scoring. There's enough everything. So I'm bullish on Louisville. Where they're going to finish in the ACC, I'm still kind of looking around and checking all that stuff out. But right now, there's no reason to think they're not an NCAA tournament team, whether that's a 3-4 seed or in the first 4 window. I don't know, but I do think it's an NCAA tournament team. I haven't gone that deep into diving it. This trip literally came to us 2 days ago, Doster. And thank you for that, Fant. I didn't realize you were behind the whole thing. Thank you for that. But so I'm kind of catching up. But when you look up and down from, Javon Hadley, who was a really good player at Colorado,
Yes, he was.
Corin Johnson, who was 6th man of the year in the Pac-12, Terrence Edwards, who at James Madison was awesome. He wasn't good. He was awesome. There's just a lot to really like. And then they're also kind of setting up for the future too. They took 2 guys that they're going to sit out in redshirt and let them rehabilitate themselves and then be ready for next year. And guys, I feel like this guy gets lumped in a lot and we just kind of forget about him. 1, because he played at Wisconsin, sure. But 2, because his numbers aren't loud, but he's just freaking solid all the time. They got Chucky Hepburn, who's a really good player, and he's about the right stuff. And I'm just really excited to see. I think Abubakar Traore, who goes by Kadir, he's going to be a better player than people realize. This is a good team. And while no returning pieces, there is coach-player continuity, and there is staff continuity. So I think that's just as big a piece as it is to have roster continuity.
Yeah, and I also think we mentioned that stat, Fana, or I mentioned that stat, and I think it's important to note that there was very little. This doesn't happen very much. ever, right? You very rarely see a situation where there are 13 scholarships that you have to fill, right?
Mhm.
Especially when you have a program that is as historically good as a Kentucky or a Louisville or an Arkansas. Like it's never happened before. And now we have all of these teams that are doing it. That one of them is gonna find a way to buck that trend this year.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop. It's going to happen more sometimes to sitting coaches who tell players, look, I have money allocated. I have money that I'm allocating. You didn't do enough. And this is it. Transfers go two ways,
Yeah.
right? A kid can say they want to level up. A kid can also get told the reality of the situation.